how do you start or plan a series?
Oh, wow. So when I'm talking about a new series or thinking about new ideas, typically it starts with what you would call like a high concept pitch. So the idea of how can I sum up this new idea in one sentence. So for me, I write paranormal romance, so I know it's always going to be in that genre because I only write in that genre as of current. So I already know, so I start with genre, paranormal, and then I go to the high concept pitch, and I want typically something that I can sum up in a sentence or two that sounds fresh and new, unique. So the series I'm working on right now is the Seven Range Shifters. So the high concept for that is that it's cowboys meets werewolves, right? They're a group of wolf shifters that live out in Montana, and they have to protect the various wolf packs and shifter packs out in that area. So that's kind of the high concept start. And then from there, I narrow it down into characters. I really focus on heroes a lot more than my heroines. I'm really good at writing like badass alpha males. So I focus on them first, and I develop their characters and kind of a group of them that I would like the series to kind of center around. And because I'm a character writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about characterization, like their goals, their motivation, their conflict, like what's their romance going to look like, you know, what's stopping them from getting what they want ultimately. And I delve into that really deeply before I start pulling out like the actual series threads. And I feel like it's also a constantly evolving process, because to say I knew what I was doing when I wrote book one of my series, it is kind of not true, if I'm honest. You know, I wrote book one with a couple ideas of what I wanted to do for the greater series, but I kind of left some of it open because I wanted to be able to let that idea and kind of grow and breathe as I wrote the later books, and it has. So you know, I add in more rules to the world building as I go on.
Oh, okay. That was really good. At what point do you start putting titles on the series? Like the actual title of the series and then titles of the books in the series?
So for titles, I typically know the title of the series before I've written it. And for my books, I tend to sell them on proposal since I'm more established now. So I have the series title ready when I send out the proposal to the publisher. I'm not very good with titles, so a lot of the time it'll be like Seven Range Shifter series, and it'll be like Untitled Book One when I first send it out. And my titles are largely determined by what my publisher is wanting to do at that moment. So since the marketing position for my books is like cowboys meets werewolves, I know that there's going to be cowboy and wolf in every title of the series because that's my series positioning. So typically I don't choose the titles right away, and it's a collaboration with my editor over what we want the title to be. And ultimately, to me, I don't feel like the title is quite as important as what's in the pages, because the publisher is going to help me come up with the best title I can and the best way to position it, and my job is to tell the best story I can.
All right. Well, that was really insightful.
Thank you.
Do you have, I had no idea, like, do you have anything else emerging writers should know if they are looking to write in a series?
Yeah, so I think what I mentioned about giving yourself a little bit of room to breathe and to play is a good idea, because you know, when you get further into writing a series, sometimes you can kind of get fatigued by your own idea, right? You're playing with the same characters and the same world over and over again, so you have to be able to keep it fresh and interesting for readers. And so I think one mistake that writers often make when they're writing a multi-book series is to try and establish every aspect of the world building in book one. And then they sort of lock themselves into something that they can't undo, and that can create problems later in the series. So you want to have world building, of course, in the first book, but I think that you also want to leave room for that to be elaborated on and grow in later books in the series. So you can give like hints of what's to come, but not detail everything, because then if you change your mind about something or it doesn't serve your plot later on, you still have that element of discovery and growth. And that's really helped me as I've been working on these books, because they definitely turned out different than what I originally envisioned, but I think that's for the better.
Okay. And did you know it was going to be like a 6 or 12 book series versus like the 3 that you originally proposed, or did you originally propose 6?
So originally, I proposed 3 because most publishing contracts typically, I won't say always, but most of the time they don't go beyond 3 books in a series. So your larger size contract is a 3-book contract. So I proposed the first 3 with the idea that I was hoping they would extend to at least 6 books. So I had, vague ideas of what I might want to do with later books in a series, but I didn't propose them to the publisher at that point because we really had no sales data or anything to go on whether they would want those later books in the series. So it wasn't until the books had started releasing that I knew for certain whether there was going to be 4, 5, and 6 in the series. And at this point, now that I'm writing those later books, and I just turned in book 4, and I am starting on to book 5, the goal is that hopefully there will be more books beyond that, but you never want to count your chickens before they're hatched, as they say. So you kind of want to hint and seed at possibilities of what might be later on in the series, but without relying on that fully, because if a publisher doesn't renew, you have to be fully prepared to switch to a new series concept or a new idea. So that's kind of where I'm at this point.
Okay. All right. And how should emerging writers and readers connect with you?
I would say I interact with readers the most on Facebook still. I'm active on Instagram and Twitter as well, but I find that Twitter's kind of harder for having a back and forth dialogue, and the same thing goes for Instagram since it's mostly picture driven. So I feel like I get the most interaction with my readers and other writers on Facebook because you're able to comment and interact more.
Okay, and I don't know how to link them in the videos, but I will put your social media contacts in the description below.
Awesome, thank you.